I am also very much excited because I believe that Macmillan indeed has made a hit with this series, Footprints. For quite a long time, we have been looking for a text in social studies that will help our children, help our teachers to be able to teach effectively, and the learning will take place. And I vividly remembered when the OECS standards came into Grenada, we found that for social studies, the text that we were using just was not matching with the standards. And so Macmillan came on board and decided that they're going to look at this Footprints. I just waited and I prayed that God, at some point in time, someone will understand and provide for us a text that schools will be able to use, that teachers will be able to engage their students, and that maximum learning will take place. And so from the very inception, I must say to you that when I looked at the title of the book, Footprints, I was in awe, simply because something just stood out directly in front of me, footprints. And for a while, my imagination went a little bit wild. And then I thought, that's it, the richness of Caribbean culture. Indeed, the footprints represents, I believe, a signature of our ancestors. What they have left for us is indelible. Those marks must never be erased from the minds of our children, from the minds of our people. If we are concerned about who we are, if we want our children to grow up and understand who they are, and that they too can be able to make contributions to society, to the world at large, then understanding their culture is extremely important. And so Footprints just stood out directly in front of me. And I believe it's a treasure that we need in our schools, because I believe it will lead us to investing in our children's future. So at the end of the day, there will be a bank account that they will have with their cultural heritage. And we must try at no point in time to withdraw without thinking of what we're doing or what they're doing, because they are tomorrow's future. And so I believe this text, the content in this text is just so fitting at this time. And so indeed, I'm grateful to Macmillan. So Footprints is indeed a title that stands out. And I believe for a lifetime, it will remain in our minds and in our hearts, implanted simply because it represents the signature of our ancestors. Thank you, Macmillan, for this great text. And so, teachers of the region, I trust that as we go through this morning, that you'll understand that we will be able to embrace this text at the end of the day and let it be the number one text that we use within the region. So I move to slide 2, and I have the alignment of content to OECS learning standards. As I said briefly before, OECS have prepared standards in the 4 core areas of math, language arts, science, and social studies. And social studies indeed is a core area of learning for our students. And therefore, the teachers who are facilitators of learning must have adequate content to deliver, and must understand as well, and must have at their fingertips, understanding the alignment with the content and the standards, because we can't have standards and then we have no content to put with it. But this one text, Footprints, or the series that runs from grade 3 to grade 6, it's a spiral approach it has taken. And therefore, at every level of the way, the students will be taught adequately in terms of what they need to know, and also give them avenues to explore outside of the immediate knowledge, simply because it lends itself for that sort of interaction with the teacher and with the students. So I believe this is a useful tool for all teachers in the region. A matter of fact, all what I'm saying here now, this is part of the text. So it means that even the children are able to read and see the alignment, the content and the standards. Parents too will be able to read and see the alignment. And so we have a win-win kind of situation here where all stakeholders, all stakeholders will be engaged with the content, aligning with the standards, and we'll see a better flow in terms of knowledge, in terms of what we endeavor to teach our children, okay? And so, again, the standards that you can see, as you can see on every page, when we go further, on every page, it will be written right there. So the teachers, although at the front of the text, you will have the standards, even on the text, the page itself, for every lesson that has to be taught, for every topic that's there, you will see the alignment right there before your eyes. And so it takes a bit of more worrying some off from you. So you have more time now to plan your lesson, more time now to cultivate the kind of environment you will want for your children to be in, to make sure that learning is effective and that learning is at a high standard. And so this area is extremely, extremely essential, right? We need to truly have the content being aligned with the standards, and that is exactly what Macmillan has done. And we say hats off to you, Macmillan, again, for providing this for us. Yes, and here is the scope and sequence. May I just say, it was only 2020 when we had the pandemic struck Grenada that we truly understood the importance of scope and sequence. Years ago, when I was a child, or in my early years of teaching, we used to have scope and sequence. And for some reason, the educators thought it wasn't necessary. And so when I became director of curriculum at the Ministry of Education, I remember vividly explaining to the chief and to the officers, curriculum officers, the need for us to, again, make sure we implement scope and sequence at every level, and speaking in terms of, because the students were now home, and because some students for connectivity were shifting from one parish to another, or one school to another, you found that when a child may have been in grade 2 in a particular school, and when that child moved to another school in same grade 2, either he didn't have covered the topic yet, or it was done a long time ago, and there was always this confusion of what was done, what was not done, and the conflict, became somewhat gruesome at one point in time, because there you had parents in confusion because they're wondering, my child is a grade 2 student, was doing so well over the north, now he's moved to the south, and it's something different. And so I was able to get our officers to buy in the scope and sequence. And I remember doing a professional development session with them. And the math officer and the science officer first took at hand and began to run with it. And we realized that it did make an impact. And the teachers in the schools where they were working were quite happy with scope and sequence. And we need to know, because the scope of the topics, right, and the areas of development within the curriculum, and the sequence refers to the order in which the skills would be taught. And so it means that at every level, and because this text is a spiral and effect it's taking, it means that once you teach correctly, once you facilitate your sessions with the students correctly, and you have everything at your fingertip, then I'm sure these well-crafted standards, the way in which the scope and sequence is being laid out, it's very easy for you to understand and to follow through, and it will aid you very, very much in your lesson planning. You don't have to be squandering and running here and there, wallowing here, there, and everywhere, but right at your fingertips. Macmillan has brought it home. Again, sometimes we see text and there's a hit or a miss, but this time, indeed, there is a hit with this Footprints series that was compiled by Macmillan. And so that's for the scope and sequence. And again, if I was to go back, you'd realize that the objectives that were stated, that you are able to use, because remember, once our objectives must be measurable, they must be meaningful, and it must be aligned with the content and what we want students to learn. And there are times when it just doesn't match, because Sometimes in our classrooms, we have teachers who are not trained. Even sometimes if they're trained, it becomes a task in finding the right objective and the right activities to put together. But in this text, you will see the alignment with the objectives and the scope and sequence and the text all run in line, so you can have a quick understanding of what the text is all about, and what you are teaching will be made very much simple. Wow. Cultural relevancy. As a cultural woman myself, because I am also a dance choreographer, I have studied dance, and so I have used dance in education as a tool for teaching, and I've also used it in terms of having my students respond, maybe for an assignment, do movements, and because I love the creative arts, and when I look at and I observe the series throughout our heritage, I mean, there is that boldness, there is that level of urgency for us as teachers, as educators, for the students to realize that the experiences that they have, when they're culturally relevant, it means that they can understand, because they're experiencing, or they have experienced something of that nature, and then they don't come to the room empty-handed. They come with something to the table. The teacher also brings something into the room, and therefore, what the atmosphere in terms of the classroom setting would be one of great excitement, would be one of tremendous learning, where each boy and each girl will find him or herself. So many of our children are just seen as numbers in our classrooms. And we got to move away from that kind of thing. And I realize that when we have material, when we have resources, when we have content that speaks boldly to students' heritage and the culture, and bring them into that space where they can see themselves engaging with their peers, and they can relate, there's great relationship, then learning becomes easy. Their traditions, their beliefs, their norms and customs, or religion or rituals or folklores and our values, yes? And I believe together they form a fortress. And it means, therefore, that presence, that fortress that is formed because of the cultural relevancy and the inclusion of our heritage within the teaching, then our students can find their way. In other words, there is like a moral compass is being created, and they are able to find their way through the text. The teacher then understands that he or she is only a facilitator. And therefore, we see that whole student-centered learning manifesting itself. And that is what we need now in this 21st century. We need for our children to become independent in their way of thinking, in their learning. And unless we don't provide the environment for it, then we won't have it. But I guess the environment comes when teachers have the right tools, yes, the right resources you can engage with. And so this text definitely is culturally relevant. And so all the parties, including parents again, will understand and be able to navigate as they go through. The students will navigate their pathway as they go through the whole learning. And so it takes me right into parental involvement. I've always stressed here in Grenada that there are three important variables to a child's learning: parental involvement, and that's the home, the school, and the child, him or herself. And I always say to my teachers, home is where the story begins. That's where it begins, right? Home is indeed the first teacher. And so home has to get it right. But sometimes we may have parents who, perhaps because of their whole social capital, because of probably their experiences, what they have maybe, what they may have had or not have as experiences, find it difficult to assist their children. But, or sometimes we say, well, I don't want my child to go through this. I want a whole different way. And we have to understand, parents, if you're online, and teachers, that we have something that's special, something that must be treasured. We have our old folklores, we have our old Nancy stories, and we have, I know Ricardo Kings Douglas, a Grenadian right here. He's written a number of books dealing with cultural heritage. And I know St. Lucia, and Vincent, all the other islands, I'm sure, have their own. And parents can use those stories and help their children. Parents can take the text when you may send assignments home, because we have remote learning quite much all over the islands. And so parents are now more involved. I think parents are now seeing that they have a role to play. And this text, because of its vividness, because of the magnitude of content that's part of it, then the parent, and mind you, the language is easy to read. So there isn't much of a, well, I am able to read this, I can't. The text is vivid, it's simple yet profound. And so together with children and parents, I can just see them having this wonderful time. And also it will help to build relationship with parents and the children, since they are not going to tell them of stories that they have known, stories, and the kids, can laugh and have this great time of fun. And they can take it to the other level, maybe even draw. They can get outside under the big tree. Maybe there's a mango tree in the yard, when they go picking the mangoes on the, golden apples, whatever fruit is that might be in season, guavas, whatever it is, they are able to engage their children. And that for me is strong, because you see relationship coming to birth, or the strengthening of relationship between parents and students, and something that we actually need to see more of. And so this text truly provides or position parents to be active in their children learning. And I know teachers will be happy that parents can become engaged, because I know teachers ask all the time, parents, where are you? Parents, you must be involved. And this is the opportune time for them to take their rightful place. Wow. Look at this. Loads of student-centered activities. Yes, that is what Macmillan offers in Footprints. Loads and loads of students' activities. And we need that, student-centered. Our children must be submerged in their learning. There must be great interaction in their learning. Because if we want to assess them, right, and we are able to measure, right, and that measurement should be valid, should be reliable, yes, should be consistent. And on every topic in that text, there are various activities of all kinds. And teachers, is not just one kind of activity. All kinds of activity can be assessed within the text. An assessment requires attention to outcome and process. And you have activities in the book that points directly to that. Assessment improves performance and involves feedback and reflection. How many times, sometimes as educators, as teachers in the classroom, we don't provide effective feedback. We don't allow for reflection. And feedback, as you know, is extremely critical in the learning process. Now, these activities offer immediate, meaningful feedback, because right there and then, and also motivation, right there and then, when teachers see their students exploring the activities in the classroom and they're on spot, I know many teachers will be in awe, because sometimes we underestimate our children's potential. We believe that we are the sole source of knowledge. And something, we're not. We just need to give our students an opportunity to find themselves, to engage with their peers, right? To understand that, look, now I can do this. Give me a chance to do it. And so the environment that is provided for our students, because of the activities, yes, it's a whole bandload of activities, or one may say a whole truckload of activities, or one may say tons of activities. From page to page, as you turn, you are going to see the vividness. You are going to see the avenue for creative explosion from our children. You are going to see activities that would allow collaboration, activities that would allow them to begin to see themselves as being worthwhile, to see themselves cooperating with their peers, to improve their communication skills. And that is key because many of our students are not confident enough to express themselves. Yes, whether it's verbally, whether it's orally, whether it maybe it's in movement because they don't have the chance to do it, or we don't give them the space to do it. But these activities in footprints open windows of opportunity for students to be able to, as you as teachers, the whole cognitive, psychomotor, affective domains of learning, all of those will be touched based on the activities. And mind you, the activities, when you read the content, you will see that follow through from the content. And then it gives you two a chance, teachers, to think out of the box as well. Because let's suppose there's an activity that speaks to St. Lucia and you're in Dominica. You may say, well, but no, it gives you an opportunity then to look for the similarities and the difference. And for you to find, or this, together with the students, an activity that matches what you'd want them to understand. And so it truly, the whole idea of creativity and innovation is spelled boldly across what we're doing. And so here comes formative assessment. And we know the formative assessment is critical. We're assessing for, right? We're assessing as, we're assessing of learning. All of these take place. Formative assessment. It provides immediate feedback for the teacher. He or she knows right away whether what they're teaching or the facilitation process, whether learning is taking place. And that's based on the questions and the activities you're allowed to do. Right away, teachers, you see that whole real life situation. When I use this picture here, because when I saw it, it brought me back to my childhood days. I remember coming from school in the evening times, and we used to stop when the sun was so hot, and we would stop in the road. There wasn't much traffic then, and we would use this, piece of stick. I didn't know whether it was long, whether it was short, but we used a piece of stick, or we look at our shadow, and sometimes we'd walk on our shadow, and we were playing with the shadow. And I remember my mom saying to me at one time that you can know the time of day by how the shadow comes on the floor, on the ground, in the street. And so when I saw this picture, it stood out in front of me. And I thought, my goodness, wow, look at this. Look at the real life experience that our children would have in our classrooms. Just this picture, teachers, just picture for a moment. Then you're asking your class to please stand. We're going outside. We're going to the schoolyard, or we're going for a little walk. Or before that, you may have asked them the day before, or a few students, or maybe you have some in your classroom. Maybe you have some pieces of sticks, and you said, okay, you're going to take the sticks now. You're going to be going outside. The excitement in the children's, on their faces, the glee, the delightfulness that will be upon them because they love going outside. They love the outside experience. And then they realize what they're doing. I can just picture these students looking to measure, their position on the ground, and one say, no, it's 1 o'clock. No, it's 2:30. And they're measuring, and the whole excitement. Now, when the students are totally submerged and involved in the learning process, they must retain. Retention is critical to learning. And when they are totally involved in the learning space, they remember. So this authentic assessment task, yes? But performance is real life in real life context. Then certainly learning for our students, that too would be real. That too would be lasting. And teachers, you can assure yourself that when you get back inside of the classroom, the next time you ask about time and you ask about the shadow and all of that, every child hand might be raised. They're ready to respond to you. And then you realize that, yes, through formative assessment, our classrooms become more fruitful. They become more engaging. We're not going to wait until summative assessment at the end of the school term when we're going to just give one assessment and say, well, all right, this is the students, at the end of the term or the end of the month, you have a test. And everybody runs to cram it down, don't understand anything. It's time for us to get away from that. I'm not saying that there's no place for summative assessment, but I'm saying we must find that place in our classrooms daily for formative assessment to be part of the whole lesson plan. And mind you, you plan your assessment as you're planning your scheme of work. You in other words, it must not just be something that has come to you at the spur of the moment. You plan what you are going to do, and of course, certainly there is room for new things to come into play, because remember, students supposed to want to be creative, and as they respond to what you have, I am sure you will see a child coming up with something a little bit different from yours, a bit more unique from yours, but again, you embrace it. And because there is now more available to everyone. Okay, so formative assessment, it's part of the series as well. There are lots of formative assessments on almost every other page. There's an assessment that you can follow, teachers, that you can engage your students to help with their learning process. Learning is a skill. Learning is a skill. And so children must be taught how to learn. They must be taught how to learn. We ask them to think, but we must teach them how to think. We must provide the right content. And so when we question them, they can put on their thinking caps. We don't want to have one kind of when we look at Bloom's taxonomy, and you know that, when you look, you realize the different stages. We don't want our children to be stuck at the beginning stage, where they just only recall. We're going to go beyond that for them to be able to think, right? To make judgments, to analyze, to evaluate. We're going to go within the whole comprehension process. And so, but if we don't have the right content, or teachers, we don't the right strategies for questioning, and that sometimes really kills the classroom. Where if we as educators do not know how to question our children, right? How to develop conversation in our classrooms, how to have the right activities that would propel them into and position them into a place of thinking, then what do you think will happen? They will be stuck. And that whole stagnation process would just cripple the learning. So we do not want that. We said here they don't have the right content. Teaching the right content is critical to student learning and overall achievement. Footprints definitely has the right content. Yes? Each of the series, I can tell you, each of the series is each of the content areas: informative, interesting, relevant. Buy it from me. Interesting, informative, relevant. I've gone through all the text and I was amazed. And I said, God, credit must be given where credit is due. This is a treasure piece of resource that we here in the OECS and the region afar can use to help our students to be on the right path, on the right platform. So having the right content, again, is key, because what we're going to teach, what we want them to know, and at the end of that knowing, because of what they've learned, within them, there's something that bubbles on the inside that pushes you or propels you for further learning. And so the child then, by the time he or she gets home, he or she is ready. They're ready to explain, to share with somebody else, and to find out, okay, this is happening in Barbados. Wow, well, good. Let me see. Let me go over to Bahamas. Let me go over to Jamaica. Let me come back to Grenada. Let me see what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And so that whole learning process, that whole learning that we want our children to be engaging, that whole interaction with peers, with the text, of course, it generates a kind of spirit, a power that moves the children on a continuous flow to want to learn more, to want to acquire more skills and more knowledge, better attitudes and better values. Because we must understand that learning doesn't just rest with knowledge. And for too long, we have this, just rest on the knowledge bit. We're just there. And we have to know that as much as we need the knowledge, we need skills. We need the right attitude. We need the right values to be captured as we teach. And so from the content, all these are pulled out. And if you run back to the objectives and the scope and sequence, you will see the alignment. You will definitely see what I'm talking about. In Footprints, there is a thread that runs throughout the series. And we can interweave. Yes? We can wrap them around and get that whole spiraling effect. We can just see the connection from one book to the other. And from one, so we know the child who is in grade 2, if he's something on the environment, there's a point where we cut off, and then it picks up directly in grade 3. So teachers, if you capture this properly, I can tell you, we will have at the end of grade 6, when our students are preparing to go off to secondary school, we would have well-prepared children. Another thing I must stress is that the content doesn't just rest just on social studies. It opens the door to other areas of learning, and that's fantastic. All right. Here we have festivals, and we have here celebrations. Oh, I love festivals. Oh, how I love celebrations. I love it. I love it. I remember the first time I went to Barbados and it was crop over time. My goodness, it was it was all over. It was just so awesome. And then you run over to Trinidad and Tobago and the carnival in February, and you come back to Grenada, and that whole month of August, where carnival is in the air, and perhaps you go to the Dominica, and we can feel the Jamaican, you have the reggae sun splash, and you just have a series of activities happening, celebrations and festivals. You have different festivals happening in different areas, and some of them are, the similarities are there and the differences are there, and I can just feel the in my body even right now, I can feel the pulse, in my feet. I can feel the swing of my hip. I can feel, as a dancer, I can feel my belly skirt just swirling around. And beneath that is my beautiful white petticoat. My goodness, as my feet stamps to the ground, and the beauty of movement cascade. I mean, the whole being. Can you envision our children? Yeah. After they would have learned about festivals and celebrations, that in your school, you organize a celebration, or you organize various festivals of different countries. What a kaleidoscope it will be. What a day that will be. I mean, it's beauty galore. Everywhere. The excitement would be raised. And again, I stress the fact that because they're directly involved in the learning process, because they're part of it, I can tell you that will stay in their minds. That will remain there, because they, again, the creation, what they are part of it. Yes, the whole creativity, and these skills, the creativity and the collaboration, right, the whole teamwork, because that's what we're doing. We want our children to be ready for the world, and therefore, what we do in the classroom must reflect, or must teach them. We are preparing them for the outside. They are tomorrow's leaders. And so even through all these festivals and the way in which they work together, we would see a newness of thinking among our children throughout the region. We can even have exchange, that's when the pandemic is all over. We can have exchange, but even so, we can have virtual celebrations. Yes, we as teachers. I hope you're hearing me loud and clear. We can, that's what technology is there for. We can look at the festivals happening in various islands and prepare a virtual tour for our children. So though we can't travel in person, we can bring it to them. What an awesome time that will be. And so there is a place also in Footprints that will help us understand festivals and celebrations throughout the region. And so I thought that was an important aspect to share with us. All right. Footprints captures civic awareness. Yes. Footprints capture civics awareness. Civics tells about the rights and obligations of citizens in a society. It transforms the mindset and prepares the individual to embrace citizenship and to be ready to make invaluable contributions to the sustainable growth and development of their country. Civics awareness. If our children are taught the right way, when they begin to understand the role or the contribution they can make, listen, we are going to see, it will be a whole new world. I can't sing very well, but it's a whole new world. That's what we are going to see. A whole new Caribbean, a whole new Oasis, a whole new Grenada, a whole new Barbados, a whole new St. Vincent. That's what we are going to see. Because our children, the whole civic awareness would renew their minds. It will shape their thinking. They'll be able to make the right choices. As when we look even within our society, we look at the whole political arena within most of the Caribbean islands. And sometimes I wonder what's going on. We have to teach our children how to choose good leadership, right? And it starts in the classroom, when they're going to choose the prefects in the class, when probably you want a representative in the class to enter something, not just because it's your friend, but you must know what qualities am I looking for in a leader that I would need I would need to help. So we'll have right leaders who are able to motivate and inspire. Remember that these young children today, if we teach them correctly, then I can assure you we'll have better societies. We'll have better leadership. Yes? We'll have the aesthetics of the Caribbean. It's so rich. And so many of our students do not understand or embrace aesthetics. They may see a beautiful, the Grenada we have the beautiful flamboyant, the beautiful bougainvillea. Oh, that's our national flower. And a child may just keep picking them off and just throw, and you wonder, have they seen the inner beauty? Have they seen what's there? How can we teach our children to look at nature, understand it, and to respect nature? How can we teach our children to say good morning and thank you? We think that we can, we don't have to say those things anymore. Some of us may have traveled far and wide and we realize, well, those things don't happen in the big world. So why do we have to maintain it? Dear hearts, these are parts of our culture that our ancestors has stamped their signature on, and we must maintain those. That's part of our uniqueness. Good morning, how are you? Hi, God bless you. That's what we know. Let's keep those things. And that whole civic cultivation, yes, that understanding, students knowing who they are, where they're going, that is so critical, so important to their overall growth and development. And so when you have your text and you go through the area of civic awareness, there's a whole chapter on civic awareness. And you will see that they learn about parliament, they learn about good governance. Every bit of it is right there. I remember saying to someone some years ago that having understood that parliament is the highest law-abiding institution in any country, I said, my dear friend, when I'm going to choose one to represent me in parliament, whether it's in opposition or whether it's in government, that person must be of good integrity, right? Of good standing. That person must be a good orator. That person must be able to present him or herself with dignity and pride. That person must be able to speak and bring the points home so that they can be a buy-in to it. So that whole level of confidence and statesmanship, our children will begin to understand that. So when they graduate from primary schools, they move into secondary school, that would be maintained. And I trust that Macmillan would think about looking at the secondary school text as well, and probably following through. So at the end of the day, what kind of graduate do we want to see coming from our nations, coming from our country? Not just one simply with 15 and 16 subjects, because that would be the minority. What about having our children who may have the 6, 7, 8, 9? Nothing wrong with the 15 anyway, mind you. Nothing is wrong with that. But the skills and the values and the attitude must be right. If they don't have those, then it's almost like a waste of time. And so I stress that whole area with civic awareness. And that's why I decided to use it as one of the areas I wanted to highlight, because I see civics as being a key area of development for all of our students. All right. And then again, as I say, because the students are in our home and the parents are at home, they share, and parents who can read and learn and understand more. And teachers, then we too will be able to engage them better in the classroom, because we too will understand who we are and what we have to do. Here comes one of my most favorite parts: opportunities for project-based learning. Oh, I love project-based learning with a passion, simply because, again, this is where students are totally engaged in the core of their learning. Students will engage and create, right, in response to a pointed question related to the specific topic. Now we're building 21st century skills, and we wanted to be at its peak. We are releasing the passion for learning. In learning, students will build future-ready skills across content area. Future-ready skills. Oh, how I love it. Future-ready skills. Project-based learning. Again, it was this whole pandemic crisis that caught my attention of project-based learning. And I remember sharing with my CEO, and I said to her, look, we are tired of running a backward race. We are tired of playing catch up. We are tired of having students graduating who are unable to communicate effectively. Students who lack confidence. Students who can say on pen and on paper, here's my certificate in my 15 or 10 subjects. But that student is unable to deliver, is unable to speak, is unable to bring clarity to content, is unable to, the discourse is so weak. The social capital is almost at zero. And so I said to her, look, I was reading through this whole project-based learning thing, and I believe it's an area that if we can get our students or teachers, firstly, to understand how to use project-based learning, then I'm sure that would help us. And because we're home, and some students are not able to connect. Maybe the home is not conducive to learning. It's all kinds of, as you know the runnings. You know what's happening with this whole remote learning thing, right? You know. But when we come to the project, I didn't say I give them projects, project-based learning, and believe it or not, Footprints has lots of activities that we can pull out, that we can look at, and make it a project-based type learning activity, where the children become engaged. We pull one pointed question from a particular content, and we set them on fire, and they begin to explore all the domains of learning. They begin to explore the way of presenting in the classroom. So it's no longer just chalk and talk, yeah? Which still seems to be our favorite in the classroom in this 21st century. But we'll have our students, that whole student-centered approach. We want to almost stamp out that teacher-centered approach in our schools. When I say stamp it out, let us make more room for student-centered activities. And so here we become more facilitators. So we give one pointed question, and the students just go with it. Right, they're home. So I might be at my home, and I'm looking at maybe something about the plant, and you in your home, you're examining leaves, and somebody looking around, and we come back and we share, and that whole collaborative teamwork atmosphere is created. At the end of the day, I may say, okay, I'm going to do some movements to show how leaves are being dispersed. I remember I said I'm a dancer, so I use, I like the vividness of I love the dance. I just love the dance, and one can use poetry, one can use art, visual arts, whatever the child can use to present his or her technology. Yes, they can develop a blog about what they're doing. They can send WhatsApp messages to each other. They can do voicemail. And when they're finished, when everything is done, they come to present. And can you imagine your children doing a full presentation on, let's say, on let's say agriculture as a main source for economic development in our country? Can you imagine that they went out and they got the research and they looked at different, oh my goodness, and then they add the whole new learning to all of this, and here they come back and maybe they create a song about agriculture. Another one has a bit of poem. There's a ring game. I mean, all kinds of things showing the whole uniqueness. And so project-based learning lends itself to that kind of teaching and learning. And I am enthused when it comes to project-based learning. And mind you, here again, not just social studies would come out. They will see the language arts, they will see the science, they will see math, they will see the whole technology process. They will see every area, the business. They will see every area of our curriculum coming out of that one pointed question, which was given to them from content that came right from this series. And then we set them on fire to light the trail, to blaze the trail. And then they come back. And here we see the whole radiance of learning. We see a reservoir of activities that are student-based, right? Bringing out the learning in students. What a dynamic process that would be. I hope you agree with me thus far. Yes, I am all excited about this series. I can't wait for the OECS to embrace this text, all right? So that's what I have for project-based learning. And then I have depth rather than width. That's something I love, because I think that sometimes we just go far and wide. We're just hitting and missing all the time. A bit here, a bit there. We scattered everywhere. Yes, we're scattered, rather than have depth within the subject area, or depth within what we're teaching, rather than go deep, trying to pull all over the place. Right? We want to go deep so the roots go down and our children can think critically, where they can master content, acquire critical thinking skills at higher levels, right? They become disciplined, self-directed learners, right? They must be, and we must equip them today if they have to become tomorrow's leaders. So if you can equip them today to go for depth, how deep can we go? How can we root this information deep enough that we can draw from it? Remember earlier I spoke about that cultural heritage bank, that investment that students can make. Yes, and I did say let us be careful about the withdrawals. So we know where we're investing. We're investing, right? Part of what's us, what belongs to us. We're investing, and as we invest, we are building capacity. We are building capacity. We have more data, and data informs. So the teacher is better informed as to what is happening. Our children are better informed. Parents can follow. The Ministry of Education in our country can then collate all those data and realize that yes, here it is. Here it is. Rather than us having, we can. What about entrepreneurship, even at the primary school level? What about introducing them to social entrepreneurship? What about allowing them to develop their own little business, in the scheme of how they see it? Maybe we have kitchens attached to our schools. They can go in and bake little cakes, and, or whether we have a day at school when a market day at school, when they pull and maybe by class or sections of the or departments, the trend become, they are there and they're developed. They have all the things being made out, their stalls being arranged, there are things for sale. We have them cashing, and when they're through with all of this, my dear, they go back to the classroom and they go back and use the same information to do their math, their language arts, their social studies, their geography, everything. And most of all, the children would build communication skills. They build building of their values and good attitudes. Because remember, they're serving. And here the civics again come into play. They understand how to serve. They understand that here I'm selling these products. How do I speak to my customers? Good customer service, yes? And all that is tied in. What an explosion. What an explosion of learning would be in our schools. When we give way to student-centered learning, we'll be going deep. We'll be going deep. Very, very deep. Very, very deep. This whole KWL approach, this is what I know, what I want to know, what I've learned. All that again can be part of the whole thing, teachers, that we can incorporate as our students go deeper into their learning. And the text offers for that. So we don't have to run and just run. Sometimes we teach here and we stop. We don't even finish. We just read a bit. We don't just want to just read and say, answer the questions just straight like that. We want class discussions. Yes, we want pair discussions. We want students to use whatever means they can bring, creative means that would help them to retain, to enhance their retention span, to add a little bit of the talent, into what they're doing. Because I believe that in our schools, that's where talent must be discovered. I've said before that none of us, any teacher, should allow students to leave school without their talent being discovered. And through this text, we have an awesome opportunity to do just that. All right, so we are going to go deep. Wow, it's values-based. It's values-based. Footprints is values-based. Yes? I love this quote. Education without values, as useful as it is, seems to make man a more clever devil. And that's by C.S. Lewis. I'm going to read it again. Education without values, as useful as it is, seems to make man a more clever devil. The first time I read that, I smiled. And then I took a hold of myself and I said, wow, yeah, so true, so true. We can have all the education that we want. We can have doctorate degrees, we can have masters, we can have bachelor's degree. My colleagues, without values, we're nothing. There's a nothingness that comes. There's a nothingness that will be on the inside of us. We need values. We need values-based lessons. We need values-based schools. I have recently written a policy for the Ministry of Education here in Grenada on values-based education, values-based education system, where we look at the whole school approach to this whole values, the morals and the ethics, the social. We must penetrate the very fabric of society, the fabric of students' life and of our schools. We must see our schools transform. We must see the culture and climate being one of resilience, being one where our students can fit into, where they see themselves as valuable, as contributors, not only as consumers, but as contributors to what is required, where they understand that values are not laminated on the walls, but they are lived in our hearts. And perhaps you're saying into yourself, what's wrong with this lady at all? We have values. Yeah, we all have values. Yeah, we all see that. Are we living all those values? I mean, let's be realistic. Let's be honest with ourselves. You say, well, our school has, yes, every school has values when you do your plan, but it's on paper or they're laminated on the wall. And I'm saying this morning, it's time for us to stop it. Even if they're on the wall, mind you, okay, but they're personal values, man, that our students must incorporate and penetrate on the inside of their minds and of their hearts and of their souls, that they can live. There's a renewing of the mind, a transformation of the mind. And then we'll have less conflicts happening. Or even if we have conflicts, there'll be better resolving of those problems, because our students understand values. There's a values-based atmosphere within the environment of our school, within the culture of our schools. And then it spills up into the home, in the society. So when we start in school, then it spills. But again, I want to say, as teachers, we must model those values, because we are there. We are the facilitators, yes. But it's a whole school approach, so parents understand. So from all of this, you're saying, okay, well, for this term, I'm going to just take 3 values. So I look around my school and I realize that, look, perhaps we need to have these 3 values: maybe responsibility, commitment, kindness might be what we need in school A for this term. School B may need something else. But you work those 3 values in for the entire term, not running here. Again, I said we are going deep. We're not running here and skelter everywhere. We want to penetrate these values into the lives of our students, into our entire school. All stakeholders must be on board. A totally new, transformed environment. I want us to get it right. Footprints. You may say, I have bought footprints from cover to cover. I've bought every on the inside. I mean, you know, what it lends itself to is that whole pathway. When you get a chance to go through the text, you'll understand what I'm saying to you. It removes us from, it transcends boundaries. It's a shift in the atmosphere. A paradigm shift is created based on the content and the activities that the book lends itself to. We are able to take our students on a values-based path. On a values-based path. What a new kind of generation we would see. I may not be here 10 years, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, but when at the kindergarten level, yes, we can begin to instill values. When at the grade 3 and all the whole primary school level, because primary school is the foundation on which the education system lies in every country. And therefore, we must not squander. We must not squander time, because time cannot be photographed. Time waits on no one. Time cannot be gathered from Trinidad and Tobago and brought over to Dominica. Time cannot be taken from Antigua and given over to Anguilla. Time is the only commodity that God has given to all of us and expects us to use it wisely. Let's use this time we have to help our students to become better individuals, to become better persons, so we can build better, fruitful societies, better nations, a whole renewed Caribbean. Yes? It's a whole new world. We're not going to no longer have to sing, Captain, the ship is sinking, Captain, the seas are rough. You know, you want to know, shall we stay or shall we stay on board or shall we hop off? We are going to stay on board because we understand that we are in the building process. We are building together. We are building together from our very young, and it infiltrates right through our society. I can assure you that once this book is used well enough, we will see a new generation. We see new things happening. All right. And so I move on to, I have a coat of many colors. And I did this simply because, you know, what I see here, that different countries have different, you know, similar art forms and different things happening. When we put them together, a tapestry is created. Yes? A tapestry is being created. This happening in St. Luke, this happening here. But there's a tapestry. The essence of Caribbean culture cascades into a tapestry of radiant light. Yes? Through our educational journey of all our students. The content and the activities and footprints will unearth or uncover students' potential and unravel any misconceptions they may have of the cultural heritage. I love it. I hope you do. Yes? Unravel any misconceptions that they have. Yes? And I like that. It's time for us to uncover some things, unearth some things. You know, we have been covering a lot of things, right? We're covering this, we're covering that. What about uncovering? Yes? Because if when we uncover, that's when the whole creative avenue begins to widen. And we see our students in there performing at a high level. And so I call it the coat of many colors, because I'm just seeing beauty beyond my wildest imagination coming forth. And here we have technology in the classroom. We cannot escape. That is inescapable at this time. Remote learning, but besides that, we need technology. It is here to stay. So how we use it is important. Footprints, again, provide activities, open windows for teachers, for students to explore, for parents to explore, and use technology at its maximum to bring deeper learning to our students. Using footprints for students' overall success. Footprints captures it all. That's my belief. Footprints captures it all. And you can see for yourself, right? Here we are, create, critical thinking, digital topics. You have discussion, we have investigation, we have map, webs. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. They're all inside the series. Footprints captures it all. Footprints captures it all. What a treasure that has been given to us in the OECS. What a treasure we have to embrace. I trust that the OECS Commission, that all the islands within the OECS and the Caribbean at large would buy into this text. It's a win-win situation. You cannot lose. Let us invest in our students. Let us ensure that deposits are being made that are culturally relevant and that they see ways of adding interest. That means by exploring and going a little bit further, not by withdrawals, so to speak. Yeah. Only if we see something that comes into deposits, they must, and it's really not, then probably we can withdraw. But we want to see the deposits being made. Footprints is indeed the series for social studies that I unequivocally state this morning that must be bought by all our ministries of education in the Caribbean, not just the OECS and the OECS Commission. I'm sure the OECS Commission will be delighted this morning to realize there is a text finally that fits in the social studies in terms of the standards and what is required of us as a people. Let us keep the fire burning in the region. Let's keep our students alive. Let's generate an interest for learning again. Let's tap into the reservoir of our students and see it cascade, see it flow beyond our wildest imagination. Let's transcend boundaries with footprints. I thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel like everybody must be standing on their feet and applauding. I know I feel like doing that. Thank you. That was,
okay.
A super and passionate introduction. And also, your knowledge comes across so well. And there are some fantastic comments coming through the chat box. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us today. If you have any questions, then maybe because we're a bit out of time now, maybe email caribbean@macmillaneducation.com and I will pass those on to Dr. Bishop. Thank you so much for your time. I love your comments, by the way, about sharing stories with parents. I think that's just so valuable, isn't it? And
yes, it is.
And so engaging. But thank you all everyone for joining us today, and look forward to meeting you all at some point. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.